What if intelligence wasn't about how much you know, but how well you live? In a world that rewards noise, Stoicism teaches silence. In a society that idolizes fast answers, the Stoics pursued eternal wisdom. This isn't about IQ. This is about clarity, purpose, mastery. In this video, we'll explore 15 Stoic lessons that will not only sharpen your mind, they will reshape the way you think, speak, act, and live. If you want to unlock the rare kind of intelligence that cannot be shaken by chaos, temptation, or ego, then this journey begins now. In a world where intelligence is often confused with the ability to memorize data, make clever remarks, or achieve academic success, the Stoics offer a radical redefinition. For them, intelligence is not merely a mental capacity, but a way of life. The disciplined alignment of thought and action guided by reason. The Stoic mind is not one that simply stores knowledge, but one that transforms knowledge into wisdom through clarity, self-control, and virtue. Epictetus reminds us, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. And in that one sentence, he unlocks the first and perhaps greatest principle of Stoic intelligence. Reason must always govern emotion. The wise mind is not enslaved by instinctive feelings, anger, fear, desire, but instead filters every experience through calm reflection. Emotional reactions are noisy. Intelligent responses are quiet. A Stoic sees emotion rise like a wave, and chooses not to ride it. This is not repression, but mastery. The intelligent person pauses, evaluates, and responds with intention. And it is this control that becomes the foundation for all higher thought. But mastering emotion alone is not enough. The intelligent mind must know where to invest its energy. And that brings us to the second Stoic insight. Control only what is within your power. Marcus Aurelius, the philosopher and emperor, wrote that we are disturbed, not by things, but by our judgment of things. This is a call to radical mental economy. The mind is like a precious resource, and to waste it worrying about the weather, the economy, the behavior of others, or the chaos of the world, is to drain that resource dry. The Stoic trains his intelligence by narrowing the focus. Am I thinking clearly? Am I acting virtuously? Am I doing what is in my power to do? This simplicity is not weakness, it is strength. For the more you eliminate what you cannot control, the more power you have over what you can. Yet even within this inner domain, our own minds, danger still lurks. Most people assume their thoughts are true simply because they thought them. But Stoic intelligence demands a higher standard. It questions everything, especially itself. Epictetus spoke often of the need to examine our impressions. That is, to pause before trusting the stories we tell ourselves. Why did I react that way? What belief lies behind this anxiety? What assumptions am I carrying into this conversation? This inner dialogue is not self-doubt. It is self-refinement. The Stoic journaled daily not to complain, but to dissect, to sharpen the blade of the mind by cutting through illusion, bias, and emotional fog. This habit of examining one's own thoughts is not natural. It is forged through discipline. But it is also the difference between a mind that reacts and a mind that reflects, between a clever person and a wise one. Still, even this practice of self-examination can be corrupted by ego. And this leads us to one of the most insidious enemies of intelligence, overconfidence. Seneca, the Roman Stoic, warned that the greatest obstacle to learning is thinking you already know. The truly intelligent person is never finished learning. They do not speak to impress. They speak to discover. They ask questions not to appear curious, but because they genuinely are. And when challenged, they do not defend their pride. They investigate their position. To the Stoic, arrogance is the mind's way of declaring war on truth. Humility, by contrast, opens the gate to growth. A Stoic never claims to have all the answers. Instead, they live by the assumption that there is always more to learn, and they remain students of life until their final breath. These first principles, choosing reason over emotion, focusing only on what is within your control, relentlessly examining your own thoughts, and resisting the lure of overconfidence, are not just mental exercises. They are daily disciplines. They are the habits of a mind committed not to looking smart, but to becoming wise. And in a society obsessed with appearances and instant opinions, the Stoic model of intelligence remains a timeless rebellion, quiet, focused, and unshakably free. If reason is the sword of the intelligent mind, then discipline is the hand that wields it. Without self-mastering, even the sharpest intellect becomes a servant to impulse. The Stoics knew this, and so they trained not just their thoughts, but their habits. Intelligence, they believed, is not proven in moments of performance, but forged in moments of silence, in the hidden choices we make when no one is watching. One of the most powerful expressions of intelligence, according to Stoicism, is the ability to delay gratification, to resist the immediate in favor of the meaningful. While most people are dragged through life by their desires, the Stoic learns to stand still, to observe his cravings like passing clouds, and to ask, is this truly worth pursuing? To postpone pleasure, to endure discomfort, to wait patiently. These are not signs of weakness, but of strength, for only the intelligent can resist what feels good now in pursuit of what is truly good later. This ability to withstand the lure of impulse becomes even more critical in the face of chaos. Life, by its very nature, is unpredictable. Plans collapse, people fail us, circumstances shift without warning, and in those moments, the quality of our intelligence is tested, not by how much we know, but by how calm we remain. If you are disturbed, Marcus Aurelius wrote, it is not by the thing itself, but by your opinion of it. The Stoic trains his mind to remain unshaken, not because life is easy, but because the mind has learned not to panic. There is no intelligence in panic. There is no wisdom in frenzy. True intelligence rests in stillness. When all around you is noise and confusion, the wise do not react. They observe, they accept, and only then do they act. The Stoic calm is not passive. It is deliberate. It is the strategic restraint of a mind that refuses to be ruled by externals. And yet, the most profound mental clarity comes not only from discipline or calm, but from a deeper understanding of the nature of life itself. The Stoics held a relentless awareness of mortality, not in a morbid sense, but in a liberating one. They meditated daily on the truth that all things end: youth, wealth, status, even breath. Seneca warned, you act like mortals in all that you fear, and like immortals in all that you desire. This paradox strikes at the heart of so much wasted intelligence. We fear what is natural, and chase what is fleeting. But the wise know that intelligence blossoms when we stop running from death, and begin to live with purpose. To remember the brevity of life is to sharpen your priorities. It is to remove the trivial and embrace the essential. The Stoic does not waste his mind on fantasies. He spends his days as if they are numbered, because they are, and in doing so, he thinks more clearly, chooses more wisely, and lives more fully than those who pretend to live forever. Tied to this acceptance of impermanence is another Stoic principle often misunderstood in modern life: to live according to nature. This does not mean to run into the woods and abandon society, but to align your actions with the rationale, moral, and social essence of what it means to be human. The Stoics believed that intelligence was not just an individual pursuit, but a communal one. To live according to nature is to live in harmony with reason, to fulfill your role in the human community, to cultivate justice, courage, moderation, and wisdom. In a world obsessed with rebellion for its own sake, the Stoic finds strength in alignment, not with trends or emotions, but with timeless principles. He studies the nature of things, including himself, and seeks not to bend the world to his will, but to shape himself to fit reality. In this way, Stoic intelligence is not theoretical. It is functional. It is not about how much you know, but how skillfully you live. These lessons, the discipline to delay gratification, the calm to stand firm in chaos, the awareness of death to prioritize the essential, and the alignment with nature to live meaningfully, are not temporary strategies. They are lifelong companions for the mind that seeks clarity. The Stoic does not chase intelligence to impress others or to accumulate power. He pursues it because the quality of his thoughts determines the quality of his life. And in every decision, every challenge, and every quiet moment alone, he asks, not what feels good, but what is right. It is that question, repeated, refined, and lived, that makes the Stoic mind unshakably wise.
The true test of intelligence is not what you know, but what you do when it matters most. In the world of Stoicism, wisdom is always practical. It does not sit in books or retreat into theory. It walks into the mess of life and makes it better. And one of the most overlooked forms of intelligence is the ability to speak, or not speak, with purpose. The Stoic does not argue for sport or debate to dominate. He listens to understand, not to win. To him, conversation is not a battlefield of egos, but a meeting place of reason. He does not raise his voice when challenged, because his mind is not shaken by disagreement. Instead, he responds slowly, intentionally, weighing not just the content of his words, but their necessity. Most people argue to appear smart. The Stoic, on the other hand, is willing to appear ignorant if it means learning something true. In this, he demonstrates the rarest kind of intelligence, the ability to put truth above pride. This humility becomes even more critical when life does not go according to plan, which, for most of us, is most of the time. Challenges, failures, betrayals, these are not exceptions. They are reality, but to the Stoic, they are also opportunity. The impediment to action advances action, wrote Marcus Aurelius. What stands in the way becomes the way. In this single statement lies a profound mental shift. Where others see obstacles as setbacks, the Stoic sees them as materials. He does not complain that life is difficult. He asks, how can I use this difficulty to grow? This is not motivational fluff. It is an ancient mental strategy. The Stoic knows that no genius was ever born in ease. That clarity is forged in resistance. And so, when adversity strikes, the intelligent response is not self-pity, but adaptation. He studies the obstacle, absorbs its lesson, and then integrates that lesson into a better version of himself. Intelligence, in this form, becomes transformation. But what prevents most people from accessing this transformation is not the difficulty itself. It is their ego, the ancient enemy of growth, the voice that says, I already know. I don't need help. They're wrong, not me. The Stoics understood that ego is not confidence. It is blindness. It distorts reality, inflates importance, and resists correction. And so the Stoic practices something far more powerful than arrogance: detachment from the self-image. He does not seek to be admired, nor does he fear being misunderstood. His commitment is not to being right, but to being aligned with reason. This kind of mental freedom, to be wrong without losing dignity, to be corrected without becoming defensive, is a sign of deep intelligence. It allows the Stoic to adapt, to evolve, and to receive feedback without crumbling. Where ego resists, intelligence adjusts. Where ego clings, wisdom releases. All of this, the conversations we have, the obstacles we face, the pride we surrender, only becomes meaningful if directed by a deeper compass. And that compass, for the Stoic, is purpose. A person may have knowledge, talent, even power, but if he acts without purpose, his intelligence is scattered. The Stoic moves with intention. Before speaking, he asks, is this necessary? Before acting, is this virtuous? And before committing, does this align with the kind of person I aim to be? This level of clarity requires tremendous mental energy, not in bursts, but sustained over time. It's the quiet discipline of aligning every action with a principle. In a world obsessed with doing more, the Stoic chooses to do less, but better. Every movement becomes the reflection of a deliberate mind. Intelligence, then, is not speed or cleverness. It is precision. It is knowing what not to do. And it is the unwavering refusal to act without meaning. These are not abstract ideas, they are practices, and when repeated day after day, they forge a kind of intelligence that cannot be shaken by failure, seduced by ego, or derailed by chaos. It is the intelligence that makes a man unshakable, not because he knows everything, but because he knows exactly what to do next, and more importantly, why. All the principles we have explored, discipline over emotion, control over impulse, humility over ego, lead to one inevitable destination, the deep, unflinching knowledge of the self. Without this, there is no true intelligence. The mind may be sharp, the memory strong, the arguments clever, but if you do not know who you are, what you believe, and what you serve, then all of it is noise. Socrates, whose philosophy profoundly influenced the Stoics, once said, "Know thyself." And this command echoes through every Stoic teaching. To know yourself is to look inwards, to examine not just your thoughts, but your patterns, your attachments, your hidden motivations. The Stoic does not merely ask what he thinks, but why he thinks it. Not merely what he wants, but why he desires it. And most importantly, is it in alignment with who he wishes to become? Self-knowledge is the foundation of wisdom because without it, we become slaves to forces within us we refuse to understand. But true self-knowledge is not always flattering. It reveals not only your strengths, but your illusions. It uncovers how much of your life may be driven not by virtue, but by validation. And that brings us to one of the most difficult but liberating Stoic truths. You must choose character over approval. In a world obsessed with recognition, likes, and applause, the Stoic lives for something quieter, virtue. He asks not, "Will they like me?" but "Is this honorable?" Not, "Will this make me look smart?" but "Is this good?" Seneca writes, "What you think of yourself is much more important than what others think of you." The truly intelligent person does not need the world to tell him he's valuable, because he lives in accordance with values. He does not bend his morals for social currency. He does not trade his integrity for visibility. His reward is internal, the peace of knowing that he has remained faithful to what is right, even when no one is watching. And it is this moral clarity, this inner compass, that gives his intelligence depth, stability, and purpose. Still, there is one final transformation that must occur before intelligence can be considered complete. It is not enough to be smart, not even enough to be wise. You must also be useful. The Stoic mind is not cultivated to dominate others, but to serve them, the highest intelligence. The rarest kind is not found in manipulation, persuasion, or control, but in contribution. The Stoic understands that all of his thinking, learning, training, and growth mean nothing if it is not used to uplift something greater than himself. He may be silent, unnoticed, or even forgotten, but if he has brought more justice, more kindness, more understanding into the world, then his mind has fulfilled its purpose. Intelligence is not a weapon. It is a responsibility, and the wisest among us do not hoard it. They share it, gently, humbly, and without need for recognition. So this is where the journey ends, and where it truly begins. To be Stoic is not to become emotionless, cold, or detached from life. It is to become clear, clear in purpose, clear in self, clear in how to live, how to think, and how to respond. The Stoic mind does not chase applause. It does not fear criticism. It does not need the world to agree. It only asks, is this true? Is this right? Is this mine to control? And from these questions, it builds a quiet power, a form of intelligence untouched by chaos, undistracted by ego, and unfazed by adversity. A mind like that cannot be shaken, and a life guided by that mind becomes, in the deepest sense of the word, free.